Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. Thank you for listening this morning. Joined by United States Senator Tom Cotton from the state of Arkansas. Good morning, Senator Cotton. Welcome.
Good morning, Hugh. It's good to be back on with you.
I want to begin where I left off with Senator Hagerty. You and he jointly authored a letter to Christopher Wray, head of the FBI, concerning Colin Kahl. For the benefit of those who've tuned in since Senator Hagerty was on, why did you send it? What do you expect to hear back from the FBI and when?
Colin Kahl is Joe Biden's nominee to be the number 3 official in the Department of Defense. But, Hugh, he has a long history of injudicious, unhinged statements, not simply about left-wing policies, but about anyone who disagrees with those policies, to include Democrats. I don't think he has the temperament to be the number 3 official in the Department of Defense. What Senator Hagerty now highlighted is that he also appears to have mishandled classified information very early on in the Trump administration. He appears to have used his position as Joe Biden's national security advisor when Joe Biden was vice president to release sensitive information from inside National Security Council deliberations. So we have urged Christopher Wray to do a rapid investigation of this matter before the Senate considers his nomination. This nomination is so divisive and so partisan that it came out of the Armed Services Committee a couple weeks ago on a party line vote. So he obviously has very minimal support, if any, in the Senate among Republicans. I'm not even sure he has the Democrats' support to get confirmed. But if it does turn out that he mishandled classified information for partisan purposes to attack Trump administration officials, I think this nomination will be done.
Is there a hold on the nomination right now so that it may not proceed to a final vote?
Not exactly, Hugh, because of the unusual nature of the 50-50 Senate and the split decision in the Armed Services Committee. There actually has to be what's called a motion to discharge the nomination of the Armed Services Committee, which is separate and apart from the motion to either start debate on the nomination or the confirmation vote. That hasn't happened often. Most nominees get at least 1 or 2 Republicans in committee to support it. So as it stands now, there would have to be a motion to discharge the nomination from committee, and that'd be followed by a few hours of debate and vote. So until we have that motion, we don't even have the nomination on the floor, and that's why we've urged Christopher Wray to move promptly.
Is there a procedure by which that motion is followed that will give you an early alert? Because and is it subject to filibuster, or is that a simple majority motion to discharge?
All the motions all motions and votes dealing with nominations here are simple majority. But yes, we will have advance notice of it because I think under the agreement that was worked out on the 50-50 Senate power sharing arrangement back in January is that the motion to discharge gets, I believe, 4 hours of debate. So they have to file a motion. There has to be debate on it, and we have to vote on it. So this is not something that Schumer can just walk to the Senate floor and call up for a vote. So we'll know if there's going to be a vote. And frankly, if it's a 50-50 split and even one Democrat says that they want to get the results of FBI review of this matter, then they can't move to discharge it either. And I would suspect that someone like Bob Menendez, who both opposed the Iran nuclear deal that Colin Kahl is the most virulent defender of, and who was on the receiving end of some of Colin Kahl's unhinged, imbalanced comments, might want to see the results of an FBI review as well.
Oh, really? He attacked Senator Menendez?
He attacks anyone who doesn't want to surrender to Iran, or anyone who thinks that it's important the United States show no daylight in our alliance with Israel. Colin Kahl, again, is an unbalanced, intemperate choice to be the number 3 official in the Pentagon. We're not talking about like the guy that's going to run the Census Bureau or run the Office of Personnel Management. No offense, Hugh. We're talking about someone who's going to be the number 3 official in the Department of Defense. I asked him about these comments. Some of these comments he released at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Do we really want someone who's sitting around on their couch, presumably at home, reading the news and unleashing unhinged statements to be the number 3 official in the Pentagon? And he said that, well, he got caught up in the moment and passions were running high. It's like, look, if you think passions are running high at midnight when you're sitting on your couch reviewing your news feed, what are you going to do when you're sitting in the Pentagon and China is about to invade Taiwan?
Yep. Okay. Now, Senator, let me move to that very subject because I discussed it at length with Senator Hagerty and last hour with Admiral Stavridis, the idea that China may attack Taiwan. I never really considered that as a possibility until in the last couple of years, but the last couple of weeks have seen numerous incursions of Chinese warplanes into Taiwan airspace. They've seen the Chinese send their aircraft carrier between Japan and Okinawa, and they've seen we transit our destroyers, including the John McCain, is in that channel between Taiwan and mainland China today as we speak. The opportunities are growing for a miscalculation or an outright attack. What would be the United States response, or ought to be the United States response, to any attack on Taiwan, Senator Cotton?
Well, so first, Hugh, let's set the table a little. You are correct that China has probed and conducted feints and reconnaissances in force over the last several weeks to a degree we have not seen before from China. This is so dangerous because it will deprive Taiwan and the United States and our allies of any kind of early warning. That's probably exactly why China wants to do it. If we all become kind of inured to 25 Chinese aircraft flying the Taiwanese airspace every day and then returning to their base, we might miss the day when they don't return to their base, but they start dropping ordnance on Taiwanese military bases. Furthermore, the loss of Taiwan, should China invade Taiwan and annex it to the mainland, would be truly catastrophic for the United States and for international peace and stability. It would be akin, Hugh, I think, to perhaps saying when Nazi Germany remilitarized the Rhineland in 1936 and France and Great Britain stood by.
Exactly the analogy I used with Admiral Stavridis, and he agreed. It would be the Rhineland all over again.
Yeah. So one, it would show that the United States does not have the resolve and the political will to deter our chief adversary from invading a democratic partner of ours, a country to whom we've been deeply committed since the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act. Second, it would give Taiwan total control over the South China Sea. They have already exerted.
You mean China? You mean China?
Yes, to give China, Red China, not Free China, total control over the South China Sea. They've already exerted a significant degree of control by building islands in the middle of South China Sea and militarizing them on the Obama-Biden administration's watch. But Taiwan sits at the choke point on the northern end of the South China Sea, a sea through which more than 40% of the world's global commerce travels. They would be able to exert their total control over the South China Sea. Furthermore, that would give them naval bases outside of the so-called First Island chain of Japan and Taiwan and the Philippines and a few other places that allows them to project naval power more easily all around the world. And then finally, and this is truly an example of remilitarizing the Rhine, which was an industrial heartland in Western Europe, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company is one of the most important companies in the world. They make 80 to 90% of the world's advanced chips. If mainland China annexes Taiwan, that means that they will then have a chokehold on the world's supply of advanced semiconductors. And you're seeing what that means for Americans right now in the slowdown that you see at automobile factories, of factories being idled because we don't have enough of those chips to even make automobiles, much less high technology equipment and devices and also weapons for our military. So it'd be a total geopolitical catastrophe. So what should we do about it? We have long maintained what's called a policy of strategic ambiguity about our posture should China invade Taiwan. That was designed in part to keep Beijing guessing. It was also designed in part to restrain rash Taiwanese decisions decades ago about potential independence. Things have changed a lot. Beijing probably has the capability through the People's Liberation Army to invade Taiwan today. So the only question they have is will the United States come to Taiwan's aid? We need to eliminate any doubt about that question. Second, Taiwan is not a military autocracy anymore. Taiwan is one of the most vibrant democracies in the world, and we need to stand up for our Taiwanese democratic partners. So the end state would still be the same. We want no change in the status quo between China and Taiwan, no forcible or non-peaceful change to that status quo. It's just the means to get to that end state would change from one of strategic ambiguity, not being quite clear about what we would do, to strategic clarity, saying simply, we will come to Taiwan's defense should China attack.
If they did attack, do you think we have the ability to sink much or most of the Chinese fleet?
Yes. The PLA probably has the ability to execute the operation to invade and annex Taiwan if it's simply China versus Taiwan. That is not a capability they had 20 or 25 years ago when Bill Clinton sent two carriers to the Strait. Today, Beijing's political leaders probably believe that their military can execute that operation if it's just China versus Taiwan. If it's Taiwan and the United States versus China, if you add other democratic allies as well, then no, they do not have the ability to execute that operation, which is why they wouldn't conduct it in the first place and why deterrence through a policy of strategic clarity about our commitment to Taiwan's democracy is the best policy to maintain peace and stability.
Now, Senator, I asked Admiral Stavridis earlier, he demurred as to the number of submarines we have in the South China Sea, and Senator Hagerty demurred on the kind of planes we keep in Japan. But the ability to strike a crushing blow against the Chinese Navy is something we've got to advertise, I think, if we want them to believe it. Do you think we actually have that capacity to strike a crushing blow against what is now a 360-ship combat force?
Yes, Hugh, and I agree with what Stav and Senator Hagerty said about not getting into specific details. But if Joe Biden and Lloyd Austin make it plain that our military is prepared to defend Taiwan's democracy and that we have the ships and the aircraft posture in the Western Pacific to do so, then I believe Xi Jinping will think twice about ever conducting that invasion. If we hem and haw, if we beat around the bush, if we hedge and we trim and we try to suggest that we don't want to ever get to that point, then Xi Jinping is more likely to go for the jugular. And look, and I know that you've heard testimony from the Armed Services community, Hugh, like I have, that says this is a 5-year problem. Maybe it's not a 10 or 20-year problem. I know Stav's book is entitled 2034. It's a great work of fiction. I encourage everyone to read it. I think it's even more urgent than that.
I do too.
I'll tell all your listeners this analogy. The Sochi Olympics ended in 2014 on February 23rd. Russia invaded Crimea on February 27th. Next year, the Beijing Olympics end on February 23rd.
I couldn't agree with you more. And in fact, Putin's got 80,000 troops in Ukraine right now on the border of the free Ukraine and from the border of the occupied Ukraine. Last quick question. Do you think President Xi and President Putin discuss these matters?
I'm not sure what those two guys discuss when they get together, but I'm sure it's nothing good for Americans. I do believe that they recognize that the United States has interest in both theaters, Europe and the Western Pacific, and to a degree they don't have nearly as many interests that they have to tend to, and that I would not be surprised if you see opportunistic pressure placed on their interests and our allies in both theaters to probe and see exactly what Joe Biden is made of and what the American response would be. That's why our only response in both theaters has to be clear-eyed, hard-nosed strength.
Senator Tom Cotton, great to talk to you. As always, I appreciate the candor and the ability to succinctly state that, and I hope people are listening. We'll post the audio of that at HughHewitt.com shortly.